Yeah, that seems reasonable. Shake this thing up. Gotta shake them up, because if you don't, they're not going to be evenly distributed. Okay. Trying to spend less screen time doing stuff on the television, you know. So that's trying to relax a bit. Paint, you know. So we spend so much time in front of the screen every day. Can definitely dominate a large part of your life. It's hard to say. The brown is kind of... So the rock formation that we're trying to do here is we're not going with the typical dungeon where it's like all gray and black and all that stuff. No, we're trying something different. We're doing like an orange rock formation, and the thing is, this brown may be too light to really show up here. So that's why we're kind of doing what we're doing here to see if it's going to work out with this first piece. And if we can't get it, then we need to figure out a different direction to go. Maybe try the peach, more like a flesh tone, light wood type of a thing, because this brown it's not showing up well here. I'm not really liking what I'm seeing right now. I mean, it's definitely there, but I mean, we probably won't know until we add a couple of layers and things on here. That's usually how it is, right? You know, you get a little scared when you start applying colors first time. You're like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Not quite sure. Got our Christmas tree in the background there. Suppose I could swing things around so you could see it a little bit better. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not amazing either. Okay, so we got the brown on there. I wonder what if we hit it with this flesh tone, and we'll see what that does for us. We could also, you know, I can get the green on all this little mossy stuff. Let's dry brush that on. Do some dry brushing here. Oh, you know, I don't have my, I'm gonna go upstairs actually. I'm gonna go grab, I got a special thing to hold my brushes, and I don't have it down here. Let me go grab that. That's important too. Brush maintenance, it's like one of the most important parts of painting miniatures or painting any type of models. use this because I can't find it. That's annoying. That is super frustrating. Well, apparently I don't have the thing. Basically, there's a cup that I can put the brushes in when they're drying face down for brush maintenance purposes, because you don't want them to just sit in the water. Maybe I can get a thing and set them to the side, and it won't be as bad. You don't want to break the bristles at the base. That's the main thing. So we'll just get another sandwich container. In fact, I'll just use this little one that I don't ever use. Yeah, we'll just use this. Put some water in here. Yeah, if we don't do this, then you'll find that your brushes are running out on you all the time. I found some more pieces I needed to bring down here. So the brown is still drying. We need to dry brush some stuff on here, so I need to find a brush that's acceptable to dry brush with to hit these tiny little moss areas. Maybe this one will be okay. Should I just use a shade brush to apply that last thing of paint? That was not a good idea. So we are going to close this up. Let's get our darker green, which is going to be this one. Oh, I forgot the thing. My computer likes to turn off the screen so that I can't see chat if someone's in there. Great. The light's messed up too. That's another reason not to allow it to do that. Okay. Okay, we should be good now, hopefully. Okay, let's get back to work. Actually, fix these lights real quick again. Turn them back up high. There we go. Done and done. Okay, let's get some of this green on here. We're going to get something done tonight. Just got to get into the zone, into that flow state, you know? That's the most important thing. Okay. Space looks a little bit messy. This may not be a good one to use. This looks like mostly water. We're going to use our other green and see if it's a little bit better. I think this base may be a little bit used up. Let's see, this looks a bit better. Yeah, paints go bad after a certain amount of time. This might be pretty good, actually. Try not to get too much into the base of the brush. If not at all would be good. Okay, that feels pretty good. The moss is kind of showing up there, nice and green. We're hitting it pretty good there. I'm going ahead and I'm going to hit it on the wood, even though I'm probably going to have to come back. This green hitting the wood a little bit is probably okay, just because we're going to be doing other stuff, and that green is not going to make things terrible for us, I don't think. Especially because it's going to be a small amount that we're adding there. Yeah, this green looks like it may be just about spent. It may be time for me to invest in some paints. That might be my Christmas present to myself this year. Maybe. Depending on some other financial issues, I might have to wait till next month. Spend $10 on paints or something. Yeah, already that feels a bit better. And we still have this orange stone work that's going on there. It does. Maybe the brown is okay because the green is going to help bring it in a bit. And in fact, I even like the way the green turned out on this better than our test piece over here. Yeah, I did maybe a little bit too much craziness. I think I like, yeah, I like that. We will be hitting this with a wash as well. I think I have some wash here somewhere. I've got like you've got a nightshade. We'll probably hit it with Nuln Oil though. Yeah, Nuln Oil is like the, hit everything with this. We can try different things on different pieces and see what it looks like. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Man, I'm getting hungry. I get hungry too late at night sometimes. I'm telling you not to eat too late at night. I think I'm going to try to hit this with that flesh tone. We're going to dry brush it onto this wood. The wood's pretty dry now, so I'm going to see if I can pull out some of those details with the dry brush here. So let's see if we can do that real quick. I'm doing just one piece right now. We're going to do it assembly style eventually. But right now we're testing one piece to make sure we like the way it looks before we start really going to work and hitting up multiple pieces at the same time. We also want to feel good about what we did tonight, so we're going to try to get things done. So we won't do all these pieces that are on the tray, but we will line a certain number of them up that we feel like we can get done, and then we will work on those. Yeah, it looks like a lot of my paints are just old. Like this one looks like it's mostly water as well. It's been watered down. I don't think this is going to work. In fact, I should probably just start weeding out the bad paints at this point. So let's see, this one needs to go. It's going to be a night of find the bad paint that's just not usable. This is going to be another one. Flesh tone, that's the Daily Brown, that was good. Let's try this flesh tone. This is a really light flesh tone. Let's try this one instead. Once we get our paints, we should be okay, I think. This one looks like it's watered down quite a bit too. Yeah, I mean, it's probably just that it's solidified at the bottom. Is really what I think I'm seeing. So we get this like caked on there. Stuff, I need to clean off my brush. And I end up with a little bit left over, and that might be good enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's bringing out the grains a bit in there. Sure. It's doing okay for us, I guess. I mean, it's not as dark as maybe I would have liked the wood to be. I don't know. We'll see what happens when we hit it with the wash is going to help out quite a bit there, I think, too. Once we hit it with the wash. But that definitely brings out those grains quite a bit better. It's hard to see exactly. So it's the camera is. There we go. Yeah, you can see those grains in there. Yep. Okay, well, I think it's dry enough where we can try to hit with the wash and then see if that really makes things pop there. Hopefully that will happen for us. We're still going to treat our dry brushing brush nicely by putting it in the water because we do want to save the bristles on it as much as possible. We've got our shade brush here. Don't really need to shake up an oil because it's basically just a whole bunch of stuff. So we're just going to liberally apply this now. And it's going to really just sink into those cracks real deep. Or as a buddy from work might say, getting there real deep like, you know. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure it stays even. And with that, it should dry up on there, I think, pretty good. We get a really nice wood grain effect there. And the orange isn't too overpowering. In fact, I might just hit my other piece with this just because I'm not sure if I hit it with this because it's just very, very bright comparatively. Yeah, I feel like that feels pretty good the way we set it up there. Yeah. think that's what we're going to be going for, something like that. Let's go ahead and hit this other piece with this Nolan oil real quick. See if that is better for it. And you can see the details definitely pop a lot more once it is you apply the wash to the piece, because it likes to just sit in those low areas, which is nice. Try not to touch it with my hands, because if I do, it'll wipe some of it off. So I'm just trying to keep it on the bottom there. I'll move it around a bit. Okay, so we'll set that guy aside. I like the way that came out. Yeah, I think overall I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. That's good. I mean, we've already kind of hit all these pieces, so we might just be hitting all the wood on them. I think we'll just do what we did here with the wood for the most part, and then we'll add the grass to it, and that should be good. And it being so bright, once we hit it with that wash, it'll definitely help out there. Let's see if I got another good brush. It's gonna flow really well. Hey, I've got this guy. He's pretty big though. 4 is pretty big. I think we need a little bit better than that. 2. This should be fine though. Yeah, this 2 should be fine. So let's start lining up the wood pieces we need to do with the Baylor Brown. So we've got, those all have wood on them. Got this big guy, we got that guy, this one, this one, this one, this one. The nice thing with the dungeon pieces is there's really just not a lot to do, and it's large areas and pretty fast work once as you kind of get going. Or with terrain in general, it's just kind of that way, so we should be able to get a lot done pretty quickly, I think. Yeah, it's basically all of this stuff. And we can just set the rest of this aside, I think. We'll just do that. We won't even work on these tonight. We'll just set those aside. We won't even touch them tonight. I don't know. I don't know if I can get all of this done. It's a lot. I feel like I might want to play some music. Although I'm trying not to do that because I know Twitch is pretty soon and music is going to be a big deal in the EU. In places like the EU. Where it just won't be a thing you'll be able to do. There's a setting for this headset. My headset will shut off after a certain amount of time. Let's see. So I think we were over here. Our brown. I'm gonna use our wet palette a bit here. The wet palette just kind of keeps the paint moist longer. So now I got a feather on there. Okay, so yeah, it's just going to be that quick. So moving right through them. So we got that guy. I will say that, like, in my early days of painting miniatures, it was painting a lot of Citadel Warhammer miniatures, and they didn't have that many poses available for them, so it really kind of got tedious when you are painting the same pose. You've got basically two different poses of archers, for instance, and you end up painting that same pose um, 12 times. So you try to find ways to make them maybe a little bit different or interesting, maybe change some of the color schemes a little bit, like maybe this guy has a brown belt, maybe that guy has a black belt, something like that, just to keep yourself awake. But it's gotten a lot better with the multi-part models. They just take a lot longer to put together with those Citadel models. I definitely think that building the models is probably one of the most enjoyable things for me when I'm working on stuff. A little bit too much water on that one. Yeah, we need to get some more paint in here. You're always balancing, you're always trying to figure out. Now we're basically just kind of, I wouldn't say glopping it on there, but we are definitely covering things down to the cracks with what we're doing. We're just straight up painting these. We're not really dry brushing or doing anything fancy right now. Covering the areas, making sure the entire area is covered, trying our best not to touch anything else that's outside the area, but the way the piece is, it probably wouldn't be that noticeable. When you first start painting, it's important to understand that there's painting to a table quality and then painting to a competition quality. And painting to a table quality simply means that if you look at a model from 2 to 3 feet away, does it look fine from that distance? And does things don't look too far out of place? There isn't any real bad mistakes, that painting mistakes that really show up at that distance? Because if the answer is yes, then you did a fine job of painting that model. Not every model has to be painted to a quality level where it's um, going to be inspected with someone 3 inches away from the model looking at it, every little detail of it. It's an important distinction. Okay, feeling pretty good about this. Okay, actually we're going to put this guy aside too because we're not going to touch that one tonight. these paint buckets that they have for a lot of the Citadel miniatures, they're specifically designed to try to help you stave off the air that's hitting your paints, because more air means they're going to dry out faster. I kind of wonder if Games Workshop makes more money off of their miniatures or just selling paint, because the paint is also pretty pricey. I need to actually probably move to a different paint just so I have the ability to make mistakes and not feel too bad about what I'm spending, or if it dries out it doesn't feel as bad, because I know that their stuff is price gouged pretty hard. And I understand they're a company like any other, but I've just kind of gotten to a point where I don't enjoy their games. They just make really good models. The games themselves are just they feel kind of poorly designed, you know. But people still keep eating it up anyways because the models are so nice. Although they've gone through a lot of changes over the years, and they've never been about, you know, your older war gamers anyways. They were more about the you know, 16 to 25-year-old that's just started to play some miniature war games. I suppose that these days there's a lot of really good options though. I mean, you've got War Machine, which is probably it feels a lot better when you're playing that game. At least I haven't played a lot of high level versions of that game or tournament games or anything, but the system felt pretty good. Hordes, I liked War Machine Hordes. Of course, we're seeing some other games like Guild Ball. We're starting to see that as well. Just basically doing some brush maintenance here, making sure that we take care of our brush, that the paint's not drying too far on it, nothing's getting down into the bevel on the brush. And we can continue on covering all these wood pieces. This is kind of funny because if somebody actually came into my channel, I'd probably have no idea that they were chatting, because I'm not really looking up at the chat on the screen. But I guess that's the whole point, right? Because I'm really trying to not look at screens for this time of the week now. I think that this is going to be a good time to rest and just kind of relax. Think about the week ahead. You just get so busy sometimes. Like I've told people a couple of different times that I don't really look forward to things anymore just because I'm so busy doing things that I things just sort of happen and I'm just like, oh, well, I guess I have to do this now. See if we can get all this wood painted tonight. And then I gotta go back with the green. We gotta dry brush that on though. That'll be the end of our night, I think. We'll see if we can get all the pieces done, right? I've kind of given up on my wet palette now. I think I need to refresh it and redo it. So the wet palette has some what do you call it? Has some paper towel in there. So you take a paper towel, you fold it over 4 times so it makes a square, and you put it in there. And then on top of the paper towel, you put some wax paper for cooking. And then you basically put all of that inside of a sandwich container, which is very cheap. And it does a really good job of taking care of things. So I need to find wherever my wax paper is here. That was mostly just brush maintenance there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy some paints here if I want to keep moving through this. I'm thinking about doing some interesting dungeon pieces. I'm going to be painting up my Dungeon of Doom after this, after I get all these where I want them. And I'll be making it some different brighter colors here. I think I want to do something where it will be maybe some purples or maybe some blues, that sort of thing. It might be fun. Yeah, we got a ton of stuff to paint up for that. Just a metric ton of stuff. Not sure if I really want to. Do I need to paint the bottom of this? We'll just go to the edge this way just to make sure we did our due diligence there. So that way it's hard to. Yeah. That's good. And the brown really just, with the red, just is it's hard to have it show up because it's just not a very dark brown, but once it is that I apply that wash, yeah, it definitely comes out. And then adding the dry brushing to it's helpful too. So yeah, actually I forgot we gotta hit it. We gotta hit all these pieces with that dry brush 2 different times. We have to hit it with all the wood pieces. And then we gotta hit it for all the grass portions as well. So we may not get through all of this tonight. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. I guess I could have hit it from the bottom again. Like I did that last time I did that. Yep, sometimes it's just good to breathe. Just spend some time. Nothing competitive going on. No pressure, just relax. The times when I think I've painted the most are usually in preparation for tournaments. Might need to go back and check that other piece. There's a lot of places I can miss here. And that's not a bad thing per se, but it definitely is a different mentality when you're getting a unit together. You know, it's like I have to paint up 20 new models or whatever for such and such tournament that I'm going to. Okay. Oop. All right. Okay, there's not too much like little wooden pieces on most of these. We're going to save this one for last. That's going to be the most fun one to paint up, I think. That one will be the most fun. See, all my Twitch bots are here again. Always good to see someone in the channel, even if they aren't real. Here we go. Set that guy over there. It's mostly surface is what I'm noticing. Like there's not too much where I have to go too deep on these. There's a little bit on these ends, but yeah, I don't feel like I have to do too much. I can hear my phone from across the room buzzing at me, but I'm not going to pick it up. No, this is my time. I feel like I probably need to have times of the day where I just shut the phone off. A long time ago, I was not an early adopter of the cell phone. I was a late adopter, and I always thought it was bad to have something where it is that I could be disturbed at any point in time when it is that I want to focus on something, especially like if I was like back in the day when I was playing competitive Magic. But it's such a good tool for emergencies, and then they came out with a smartphone and people could use it for a lot of other things like arguing about how much to, the price of a Magic card or whatever, that I ended up getting one. And now it just dominates my life as it does most Americans. It's addictive to have instant gratification. You know, you want to be social. For me, like as a single dad now, I can be social using my phone, but it's with people on the internet who have no qualms about basically blocking anyone at the drop of a hat. I mean, I would definitely rather get out, but I only have so much time a month that I have to get out of the house. Not a complaint, but it's like a state of affairs, really. So again, we're doing the same thing. So far, this is our third time doing the same painting areas. This is your typical assembly line tactic for painting up things. That way you don't have to keep switching from one color to another. Also, when we're done with this, we'll have floors for a room where we can put it all together and it'll be a nice floor where it'll all look the same, it'll all be painted, it'll all be ready and good to go. So the fourth one. Another thing that people talk about, at least when I grew up in religious circles, is we live in this noisy world. There's just a lot of things to distract you. We're very distractible now. So it's important to maybe just step back from things and have some quiet time and maybe just unplug yourself from technology. I mean, that's another thing where like right now with the way it is that there's always these child emergencies, it's very difficult for me to do that. I'm sure there are other single parents that kind of feel that as well, but I mean, somehow, a long time ago, people did it without cell phones, so we can do it again. You know, like a lot of things people did without before, and they were perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Everyone survived. Here we go. Okay, it's not one of those. I kind of like the way the blue comes out a little bit in this one too. With that, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, kind of got some greens and blues. I probably need to go back a little bit on some of these and maybe highlight some of these stones a little bit more, but it's probably fine the way it is if I just hit it with that wash tonight. We're actually almost done with the first pass on all this wood. And then we need to go back and dry brush it all. Yeah, maybe I'll get myself some Dwarven Forge paint or something. For working on that dungeon once I get done with this one. Figure out a color scheme to do. I've been building a video game for some time now. Spent probably about 4 years on it. And it's very similar to painting. Some people, I used to build Lego castles when I was much younger, and very elaborate things, and people would look at what I've done and they would say I just don't have the patience for that. It's one of those things where you just really have to sit down and you just kind of get into this flow state and you just kind of do it. And eventually you get good at it and you have something to show for it later. You put the time in, you get rewards out of it. I think that's one of the things that we see somewhat in the video game industry now, but we also see a lot of things that really disrespect the player's time. Like the classic that we talk about a lot is your pay-to-win models with microtransactions and that sort of thing. And I'm okay with like some pay to accelerate. Like I think personally, I feel like the League of Legends model is pretty fair across the board. And I don't even have a problem with, games as a service, with us paying for something, $15 a month in your typical World of Warcraft, or MMO model, that sort of thing. That doesn't seem like something that should be a bad thing per se, um, or like perks for people that pay that and then allowing other people. The thing is, like, you need players. You need players, so you need a good game first that players want to play. Something that's going to be solid gameplay wise. And then after that, then you can look at what is going to be palatable for people to pay for in this game. Because we have to be able to put food on the table for our families as well. I'm a little bit worried when I see things like what's happening over with Blizzard and Activision. That's definitely a company I would like to work at one day. But it feels like, or what seems to be the narrative that's going around, is that with Activision taking over, we've got CEOs that are saying they need to show growth and have a certain percentage of money made that's additional every year. And that's not really um, always going to be possible with video games or the business of video games. Like, they need to have it be at a place where it's enough that um, your different intellectual properties are making the same money, I would say, and then like you raise prices due to inflation, and then you basically tell the player base that, hey, the prices are going up because of basically inflation every year. I mean, we've seen Magic the Gathering do that with packs of cards, because packs of cards have gone from, I think they were originally like $2 a card, $2 a pack of cards for 15 cards, and there was no basic lands in there, to I think it's like $4.30 now. Pretty soon it's going to be $5 for 15 cards, and then one of them is going to be a basic land, and people will still pay it. I mean, we're basically at fast food when I grew up was around about $5, and now it's perfectly uh, reasonable to expect to pay $10 for fast food, which is funny because when you watch like the Good Burger movie, the uh, the characters like that will be $8, and when I was a kid, $8 for fast food seemed like a ridiculous amount of money for that, because it was $4, $5 for stuff. I think those were maybe California prices that they were referencing in the Good Burger skit, back in the day. Yeah, I think it was just something like that back then. It's just interesting to see how economy works. I mean, there's nothing that really is going to be firm in stone. It feels like a lot of economy, or at least from what I've seen, sometimes just about fooling people into buying things that they really just don't need. Not even selling good products. Let's sell them products that look good, or that we can make people believe that they need, but they're really just not that useful, or they're not good products. And we've seen that this year with the new PlayStation. Um, Unfortunately, it seems like it's just not as good as your Nintendo's. The Nintendo retro consoles are better than the new PlayStation 1, and the PlayStation 1 is $20 more expensive than a Super Nintendo Classic, which you can mod and play PlayStation games on, and some of them are running at better frame rates, according to Review Tech USA. So that feels like a cash grab to me. It feels like them seeing a trend and noticing that there's the ability to make money, and so we're going to go ahead and put this thing out, and we're going to push it out as fast as possible before it is that the holiday season hits, so we can make sure to capitalize on this, because who knows, maybe next year that retro game console trend will not be as popular and not as um, not as lucrative, I guess would be the word that I'm looking for there. I'm gonna have to really kind of get in there on this bridge. We won't have to worry about it as much once it is that when we're doing the dry brushing, but on this initial one, I really kind of have to get down in there. It's definitely nice to set down that base color. When I originally started painting miniatures, one of the things that was a highly suggested thing, and I still kind of do this somewhat, and a variation of this, and we can kind of see this with these uh, terrain pieces that I'm painting, is you would undercoat everything in black. And the main reason for that was that if you undercoated everything in black and you missed a spot, or if the paint got rubbed off or something, black was very subdued and it would just look like shadow on the model, and so you were still in good shape. And so it didn't matter as much if you missed a spot. So with these, what we did was we undercoated them all in red with the idea that it was going to be orange, and so I painted the orange over that. I dry brushed it onto all the pieces. And yeah, kind of a similar concept. And this way, if some of the stuff gets rubbed off, we end up with a red below it, which is a darker color than the orange is, and so we should be in pretty good shape. Especially with pieces like this, where we're going to be marching characters around on them and rubbing them around. Eventually some of that paint's probably going to come off. I suppose I could seal it. I don't typically do that too often. I haven't played around with that too much. I'd have to ask someone about it to see what he says. I have like one person that I know of in the area that's a reasonably good painter. Or not reasonably. He's probably a better painter than I am, actually. I've been doing this for quite a while, since I was in high school. So I got hit with it. Same, they hit their target demographic with me for sure with Warhammer. Of course, there weren't as many options back then, really. It was more like, what the heck is this? This looks kind of neat. I'm going to try it. And, put my models together and, really enjoyed the modeling experience of it. And realistically, like, if you are someone that wants to play miniature war games like Warhammer, and you don't want to paint models, you're missing out on not even 50%. More than 50% of this hobby is modeling and painting models and putting them together and, doing little flair things and just being interesting. And maybe it's like 40%, maybe 30% is actually playing the game. Like, you're not going to play that many games of miniatures. Now, I will say that it looked like for a while, and this is kind of weird now with the Fantasy Flight Star Wars miniatures, it looked like that was going to be the new big competitive miniatures game. Like, that was it. Like, everybody was playing Star Wars miniatures, and it was just X-Wing, X-Wing, X-Wing everywhere I went. Like, if you were going to play a miniatures game, it was X-Wing. And I guess it seems to have just kind of petered out and died off, is what I'm seeing. It's kind of crazy because it looked like X-Wing was kind of unstoppable. I think it's possible that some of that hype may be related to the movies. We've obviously seen some problems with you know, Episode 8 and Solo. Some problems with those movies. Of course, there are some YouTube channels I watch that do that explain that stuff much better than I think I could. But yeah, I would say that I was really just disappointed with Episode 8. I actually enjoyed Solo though. I enjoyed Solo, and I think that it unfortunately was a casualty in the Star Wars war, and I'm of the opinion that Episode 8 was one of the worst Star Wars ever, just because of the disjointedness of it, the some of the agendas that were being pushed. It just felt like yeah, and there was also some other problems with just the logistics of the way they decided to just all of a sudden do things, and it wasn't like things feel in Harry Potter, you know, to make a like sometimes in Harry Potter they do things and then like they never talk about it again, and it's just like, well, why don't you do what you've done before in these other things? And then some of the stuff does come back, but yeah, we did it. We finished all the wood pieces. We're gonna check it over again. Looks pretty good. We got all the wood first coat done, and now we need to go back and do the dry brushing. And then once we do the dry brushing on the wood, we need to do the dry brushing on all the grass, and then we can wash everything. But I don't even know if I'm going to have enough Nuln Oil. I don't think I will for that much. I don't know if I have another one up here. I've got some Earthshade I could try on some of these. Maybe I'll just try different shades. I've got a Nightshade, but I think this is more of a purple. We probably don't want to use that. I don't think we're going to want to use that. That might make things, but this Earthshade is more of a brown. Maybe that might be more interesting, actually. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this up. Another thing you can do if you don't pay attention is you can easily just leave your paints open. You definitely don't want to do that. That's bad juju beans right there. Okay, so let's move on to where is it? We've got our green here that we were using. We've got our flesh over here. It's this really light flesh color. Then we're going to dry brush. And the dry brushing should go actually pretty fast because we're not going to hit things too extensively with this. We're just going to kind of hit a couple of areas, hope that it shows until it starts showing up a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next one. We have to be careful with our brush a little bit because we are dry brushing, and so the paint's going to dry a lot faster. So that's important. Yeah, this one, plus this one is like pretty bad. We're probably going to actually have to trash this too. I'm going to have to just get a paint kit or something. Yeah, let's come in here. Okay, so come in here, we're going to do this and this. Okay, so we're basically where we need to be. And we're just going to kind of just hit it. Should probably need to bring this over just a little bit there. And you can see the tree anyways. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then basically when it starts not putting anything on there, that's when I'm gonna go back, put some more paint on there. So what we're doing when we dry brush is we're cleaning most of the paint off, so that way when we hit the model, it's gonna hit all the high parts. and thus the low-lying areas should stay dark because we're using a lighter color. And in that way, we're forcing a shadow perspective type of thing for our viewer. The problem is this is not that dry, so it's hard to dry the brush out, and when I do, it's like too much. So we need to get into this paint that's basically solidified at the bottom of this thing. So this is just kind of awkward all around getting this done. This would be a lot better with new paint, but you know, you live and learn. I was thinking about doing this for a while. I should have checked through my paints, but you have, again, it's not hitting us too much like a dead horse, but you only have so much time as a single parent to do that, to figure things out. This is almost acting like a wash here because it's kind of going down into the cracks a bit, and I don't want that at all. We want it to be dry. So I don't know if I can shake this up a little bit more or something. It's pretty bad. Can't use my muscles. Maybe what you do is, another thing you can do is you can take the end of your brush and we can kind of stir around this crap in the bottom. Try to loosen it up a bit. See if we can get something better out of it this way. Of course, now I need to clean the end of my brush. It's like, what did you do? Richard, what'd you do? Alright, maybe this is going to be a little bit better. Maybe. Okay, this feels like it. I think we got it. Got it? Yeah, there we go. We got it. Yeah, I'm dealing with old paint sometimes. Sometimes late at night, I lie awake and watch you sleeping. Should sing songs I actually know all the words to, though, shouldn't I? It's going to be crazy when Twitch changes because of this article, whatever it is, 13 thing or whatever it is that the EU is doing. Who knows? It may open things up actually for people on the stateside. I mean, it's sad to say that, but it's true. You know, like less people on a platform makes it easier for other people to get noticed. But then again, there's maybe some people on the platform that it would be nice if, I don't know, we could do something to help people out, I guess, that are just not getting the views that they deserve. watched a video about how hard it is to get noticed on Twitch today and how the platform is not really great for discovery. And that makes sense to me because, just like the video says, it's all about making money. And I do see some people, like, I'll jump into a stream because it's good to support people too. You get in there, you follow them, and you see what kind of content they do, especially if they do content that's like your own. You're trying to pick up things and you're trying to support them and, be a viewer for them. But if I jump in some stream and someone doesn't, like, especially I'll jump in streams, I target streams to jump into that have a low viewer count, like less than 10. Those are specifically ones I go into because I feel like those are the people that are probably, or at least should be, the ones that are working the hardest to try to make it, and to see, because I know that some of those people are probably deserve to have, like, 10 to 20 people watching them, for at least for what they're doing. But some of them definitely don't, and I say that because you'll jump into a stream where there's nobody in there, nobody's chatting, or maybe it's like 5 people are in there, 3 of them are bots. I'll chat, I'll say something, and they won't even acknowledge my existence, and not even say hi to me. Like, you can do that when you're a massive channel and you have other people to interact with in the channel, but if you do that and you're a tiny little channel, you just basically showing me that this is not something you're serious about, And so for those people, yeah, they don't really deserve to go very far, you know. Obviously, quality content is nice. Having things that look nice to me when I go into a stream, that's important. I'm trying to up my own quality. This is kind of a bad example of it, just having the thing up. But I mean, obviously, there's a certain amount of time that you have to spend to get that quality level up, and I can either work on my quality level or I can stream. And so, like, I do both during the week, and so the quality is always improving. But if all I did was try to fix all of my quality and make stuff look exactly like other people's stuff, I would never stream. There's just too many different things you can do, and you have to research and get stuff working, and yeah, too much stuff. I mean, maybe eventually I'll get to a place where it's, I'll feel good about the quality level of what I have, but I think that's going to be a point of work that I'm going to have to do fairly often for a while. Of course, I said that, and then I said early in the stream it's going to be difficult for me to read chat from when I'm sitting down, but I don't think people are going to be that interested in watching me paint models and miniatures, because most people don't know me. This is more of a personality type of a stream, I guess, and if you don't have a following already, you can't really do just chatting and expect people to show up, unless you're a hot girl that tells people, unless you're a hot Twitch girl that says that you're single but you're not really, then you might get some people to just show up to just chatting. I was thinking it might be a good business idea just to set up a thing where I just hire girls to come and stream and they use my equipment, and I basically handle all of the streaming and all the business side of things, and then they just basically stream on Twitch. That's like a digital pimp right there, right? That seems like a good business plan, except, you know, being around that much estrogen could be bad for my health, possibly. I have a habit of holding my breath, you know, when I'm painting. I think that's what you're hearing there. As we dry brush this wood, making it pop a little bit more. Just moving down our assembly line. You can see how much faster it goes when you're dry brushing because we don't have to hit like necessarily everything. We just like we're just basically adding accents to it, you know. That's really all we're doing. Yeah, I think this bridge is going to look pretty awesome once I'm done with it. I'm happy with the flesh tone. I think it really does help the brown come out a bit. I actually have been blessed recently though, because I've had a couple people raid me. I will say with the raids, you definitely have to represent for a little while when they come in, because people come in, they raid you, and then like they'll leave somewhat quickly after that, or they won't interact with you. It's funny because gamers in general are introverted. I'm not any different than most gamers. I tend to be more introverted. You know, I just don't want to deal with things, deal with people. But I have to push myself out of that to come and do this sort of thing, and that's enjoyable from time to time. But it's definitely not in my comfort zone to do this. You know, definitely had to kind of build up to it, and it's definitely not natural for me. So those same people, these introverted people are the ones that are watching you on Twitch, which means they may be so introverted they don't even want to actually chat. They don't want to put anything in chat. You know, people just lurk. You know, and I suppose there's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't help the content provider very much. I will say tonight, after I jumped into somebody's uh, Hearthstone, just as you know, again looking for low viewer count things, and jumped into a guy's thing, and he was just kind of complaining about Hearthstone, which a lot of people have been lately. And then he made a statement which was utterly ridiculous to me, where he said, "There's no unwinnable games," and I was like, "In card games, there are a lot of unwinnable games." He's like, "You know, if you play well enough, then you're gonna win every game." And I was like, "There's something you could have done. You could have gone back and done." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. That's pretty stupid. That's basically like saying, um, you're awesome, and if there's a reason why it is that we lost, it's not your fault." You know, like in League of Legends. Um, there are times when things are just out of your control. I mean, for the most part, I think that what you need to realize if you're a card player is there are things you can control and things you can't. Like, you can't control the cards you draw. Like, you know, generally, um, there are things that allow you to do that. But generally, like for instance, there are random elements that you just have no control over. And sometimes those random elements work together in such a way that means that you lose the game, no matter what plays you did. So what you can do though is you can figure out how many play mistakes you made, you know. But yeah, he was going back over this match. He's like, what could I have done differently to win this? And I was like, probably nothing. But yeah, he just didn't want to believe that. I think that's the mentality of my now 9-year-old, like basically, or just people in general. They just believe that they're so awesome, or there's always a way that they can just win every game, and that's just not a good way to be. So that's a bad way to think about things, and that's feeding into a society of gamers that is setting themselves up to be angry because when you don't win and you feel like you should win, that's obviously an expectation that's not being met, and then you're angry. It's not a good place to be. Yeah, you need to figure out. Definitely, I think that looking at things and seeing what you could have done differently and realizing a play mistake is important. But the statement of I can control every game and I should be able to win every game. Every game is winnable if I play the correct cards. That's a horribly bad statement. That was an interesting one tonight. Maybe I should go into people's streams more often and just see what kind of ridiculous stuff they say. Hmm. I do want to finish this tonight. I don't know what kind of time I've got. I might have to get up and take a look at the clock. Once I finish this dry brushing, I will. Actually, I think I just finished, right? All these are done. Those are all done. Yeah, let's look at the clock and see how much time we've got here. Let's see, what time is it? May have to be continued this past here. Let's see, it's 11:16. I think we can do this. We just have to do the grass, dry brush the grass, the grass, the grass, dry brush all the grass. Did I do this one? You know what? I don't think I dry brushed this guy. There we go. Let's hit that guy real quick. It's not as dry as I would have liked, but that's okay. That's good enough. Okay, let's hit all the grass here. Feels good to get things done, that's for sure. I like this green. I like how bright this green is on there. I think it really did a good job of coming out with this one. Yeah. Okay. have to do our trick again because this may just not be. It doesn't feel like this is very consistent, so I think we're gonna have to stir this guy up again. Yeah, it's all just solidified at the bottom here. So yeah, we gotta stir this up a bit. And then shake it up pretty good after we get it nice, and hopefully we can break it up enough. We can get some good paint out of this and not just water, not just green water. That's not what we want. Okay. Green water is not what we want. We want paint. Okay, hopefully that's a bit better. Okay. There we go. Perfect. All right, good. Let's just hit all these. Basically just hit all the little grass spots. Now another thing we can do later after we get everything fully painted is we can add some static grass to this, and I think I'm going to do that. I think that's really going to add just another little dimension to this, to what's going on here. The parts that I'm hitting that are the grass portions are just so high up, there's really it would be very difficult not to hit. It would be very difficult to hit those low parts accidentally with this green. Dry brushing is pretty much like the way of life for me. Like when I first started doing a lot of miniature painting, it's like dry brush everything. So I figured out how to do it. And so that's like the first thing. If I'm going to show someone what to do with miniature painting, it's like one of the first techniques I teach is basically make sure it is that you paint a nice dark color and then you just dry brush over the top of it, and then magical things happen. It's magic. Ho, 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 it's magic. You know, never believe it's not so. Mm. It's interesting to see all the different things that have kind of happened this year. I'm definitely ready for the next year. I think a lot of people are. Most years, I don't think there's too many years where people get to the end of the year and they're just like, man, I really wish we could just do that whole year over again. That was awesome. You know, the feeling, the sense of we can reset things and start over new. It's definitely a good feeling. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to trash. I think I'm just gonna trash all my paints and just just redo my inventory on paints. It's just been too long. They're all just dried out. So it just makes everything a lot harder. I'm trying to get things done. Oh, this is going to be a lot of green on this guy. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Now it's coming out. There we go. That's what we want to see. Excellent, Smithers. Excellent. There we go. Yeah, this is working pretty good. And the green on the orange is definitely it's a contrast that's good, I think, for the piece altogether. These are like Fortnite colors, right? Green, yellow, blue, orange. I wonder if they picked those because of colorblind people, because most colorblind people can tell the difference between those things. It also makes the game pretty colorful, of course. I'm surprised that the map doesn't randomize itself at all in that game, and that's interesting enough for people. I suppose it's a very large map to explore. Yeah, there we go. Got some nice greens coming in there. There we go. There we go. Even if we leak over a little bit onto the stone, it's okay because the wash is going to cover a lot of that up for us, and so it'll be fine. It'll be perfectly fine. I think that brown wash is actually going to look really good on here. You know, the Nuln Oil is more of a black wash, I think. I mean, it's not completely black. It's maybe got little gray in it or something. But the other one's more of a brown, and I think that's actually going to work out really well here. It's nice to focus on something that's not a television screen, you know, for a certain amount of time. Definitely feels good. Just relaxing. Not playing any music because, you know, I eventually want to get this out onto like YouTube or something. And in order to do that, you got to not play any music because it gets monetized by some random company somewhere. So you can basically just talk now. That's what we can do now in our society. Because music sounds so similar that somebody's going to copyright strike it. Because we have algorithms that take care of a lot of things. I mean, I do believe that it's important to protect people's art and to make sure that people are getting what they deserve from the art that they worked on. And then, so that's important when we're talking about commercialization of stuff. I just feel like maybe there should be a way to pay a fee or something where you can pay the musicians and then you know you can have access to good music for your YouTube videos. Like it'd be nice if we could do something like that. That feels like a good, or maybe even like set up your videos in such a way where they get a percentage of the revenue. It doesn't just all go to them because you use their music. You know, because the thing is, someone pointed this out the other day, like not too many people are going to look up a YouTube video because they want to hear a specific song. You know, if you want to do that, you'll just look up the song. You can either buy it on iTunes or steal it or whatever. That's what you'll do. So it's different than just, you know, what we had with Napster and all those other music services where people were stealing music all over the place. And that might have been good, though, for the industry in general, just because CDs when I grew up cost $20. Nowadays, you know, with iTunes and all this other stuff, music's a lot cheaper. I mean, a ton lot cheaper because like back then those are like 1990s dollars. So like that's like $30 nowadays for a CD. And now it's like $13 for a CD. So that's probably like $5 or $6 back in those days. I'm not sure all of what I think it was mostly iTunes is the reason why. I don't have all the answers to what happened there, but you know, and possibly that the ability to pirate things got so prevalent where people are like, okay, well, we still need to make some money, so we need to make sure the honest people feel like it's more worthwhile for them to be honest than not. I mean, I know that there's also like a DJ license you can get so that you can play a certain amount of music and get paid as a DJ, and it's like completely legit. I know that YouTube um, DJs are going to be having issues with the new changes that have come down for the Article 13 in Europe. I thought about DJing myself on the YouTube channel, or rather on my Twitch channel. I guess it's Twitch DJs, but yeah, I thought about doing that myself, but with the changes coming, it doesn't seem like it'll be worth trying to mess around with, unless you're just doing your own make it from scratch music type of thing. I kind of wonder if the algorithm will pick up on stuff like if you build something in a digital audio workstation like Ableton, is it going to pick it up or not? I mean, I would think not, but because there'd be a lot of starts and stops, and it would be difficult. I mean, unless you play the whole song all at one time or whatever. Maybe they might try to match it to something that's not actually it and say that you stole it. Some of the stuff with copyright like that, like I feel like there needs to be a certain level also of understanding where it's like, and I think there is somewhat, but you kind of still need a lawyer. But you need to do a little bit to like something to make sure that it's actually original, like compared to, because you can't have something that's like a four on the floor beat and then copyright that. You couldn't copyright that because it's just the beats in the background. It's not a specific beat. It's just like a way of doing pretty much all dance and music. But yeah, it does feel like you kind of need to have a lawyer. If you get to become a big YouTube star or a lot of that stuff, yeah, you definitely need a lawyer. Had that one girl on Twitch that kind of went off on whatever his name is, the big guy, Ninja. She's like, "Can I copyright strike him?" Yeah. I'm gonna copyright strike him for using my footage or whatever. Which I guess I get that too because like yeah, I don't like I found someone that had stolen uh, a tweet and then tweeted it out like it was theirs, like their own game and stuff from my video game that I worked on. And I worked pretty hard on that over the years, and so like I was like, hey, not cool, man. That's not your game. And so he deleted the tweet, and apparently it was a media company that did it for him, to a social media company that was basically stealing people's stuff, calling it their own, and then using bots to troll that stuff out. It's like, yeah, that was from a time when I was with this company. You can see why I got rid of them. I was like, yeah, I guess so, but you needed to like delete all your tweet history. Speaking of deleted tweet history, there was a Twitter storm that I saw happen the other day where, and I don't think anyone's really covered this. We had an artist that said that someone messaged them and they said, we don't want to pay for whatever. Basically we want you to work for us for free. Basically, is what he wanted, and you'll get the almighty what do you call it? You'll get a lot of exposure. We're gonna pay you in exposure. Classic, right? It was like this tiny little esports team or something, and then the guy's like, no, that's not gonna work for me. And the guy's like, well, I didn't know you were money based or something like that. And That just exploded and Twitter destroyed that esports team. They had to delete all of their tweets. And yeah, they're basically like they're rebuilding probably under a different name at this point. All right, let's see if this brown looks good in here. I'm betting it's gonna look really good. I think it's gonna look really nice actually. It's gonna actually keep things a little bit brighter than the Nuln Oil, but it won't be too out of place compared to the other ones, hopefully, that I've already done. It definitely looks good. Does it look better? It's hard to say. I'm gonna have to go back to the Nuln Oil and then put these two side by side. It's definitely brighter though. That's kind of important. So we can see that right there. We'll have to see when it dries if it's better or not. So I'm gonna clean this and we'll do the Nuln Oil on the same piece, and that way I'll have two side-by-side comparisons of what it looks like once it all dries. And then once we actually wash all of these, we will be done for the night. And I will feel pretty good because I got something done. It's always nice to feel accomplished, right? Okay. I don't know, the Nuln Oil is really kind of like, normally it's like almost like when in doubt use Nuln Oil, and you can kind of see why, because it does definitely settle real nice. It almost makes things a little bit shiny, which I like as well. Ooh, that's bad. So the Nuln Oil is on the right and the brown is on the left. Yeah, the brown is definitely brighter. The Earth Shade is what it's called. Jeez, I don't know if I'll have time to like let these dry though to make a choice. I guess I could just do half and half, and then I should have a good look on those later. And that's going to make things more interesting anyways to do it that way. So let's do Nuln Oil on those ones. Let's stick with the Nuln Oil for now. And I'm just kind of moving things around here to plan. So we'll do Nuln Oil on those ones. And these ones can go with the other thing. That one. Two of these. We can do one and one. And can do one and one like that. Okay. So yeah, we're just going to do Nuln Oil on all of these ones. And we'll do the Earth Scar shade on all the rest of these. This should go really fast, honestly. Quite honestly, because we're just going to kind of cover the whole piece in this. Okay. The only issue is like how to hold it when you're doing this. I'm probably going to run out. So what's going to happen, I think, if I were to guess? Okay. I could even thin this out a little bit, a little bit of water, just to see if that'll help it out a bit. Run it out a little bit more. Make it settle into those lower areas a little bit better. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I think we're just going to run out here. So what's going to happen? Dispersal on this is also pretty randomish, and so that's also going to make the pieces hopefully a little bit different from each other. At least feel a little bit different. Somewhat. In fact, I might just let's add some water to this one. Let's see if that changes things up a little bit. there's really the Nolan oils on the right, and this other one on the left is the Earthshade. Yeah, I don't know. It's very similar for sure. I always know when I've been painting because my hands are just covered in stray paint marks and stuff. Actually, when I first started painting, I didn't actually do washes on things, and it's kind of scary because it looks really dark and you aren't sure how it's going to affect the model, and you're just covering this model with black. But when you see the results later, it definitely shows you like the power of a wash and how it is that it can set a lot of tones and contrast and just kind of sink into those areas of the model and just make it really pop. I mean, we can see how bright this is, right? And then basically we can use that wash to really kind of dull it down. Bring out those details that we're missing, that all that bright color is just kind of covering up. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with it for this large piece here. That's gonna be a lot though. We may have to actually swap mid piece on this. So use some water for sure. It's just a lot of area to cover. It kind of reminds me of painting tanks. These tanks are very large models too. Although I'm not usually covering the entire tank with a wash. Although maybe I did. I can't remember. I did one tank, and then I figured out that I just really am not that interested in playing 40k I picked the wrong faction. I picked Imperial Guard, and I picked the wrong way to play them too. So, in order to get something done quickly. Yeah. I'm just used to playing too much fantasy. Where I was like, you know what, I want to have a ton of little guardsmen just running around with flashlights everywhere. And that's a lot of work to get all those guys painted. That's a ton of work. Yeah, I just love the way this is just bringing out all the cracks in the stone. The green is coming out a lot more. The bridge, of course, comes out really nicely. We'll swap to our other wash now. Yeah. Okay, let's move to the Earthshade wash, and then we should be done after that. We've got a couple more pieces to do, but they go pretty fast, as we've noticed. So let's get the big ones. I might just try to wet this down a little bit more to make it just a little bit brighter, to make these pieces just a little bit different than the other ones. I think I'm still having a hard time telling the difference somewhat between these and the other ones. Got some dots on this one, that's kind of bad. It kind of got splashed from all this washing that we're doing. I heard you, phone, but I'm not going to answer. This is my time right now. This is my time to relax Just focus on something, just one thing. Maybe next time I'll just shut it off. Yeah. I think one of the other things that's bad about our society and cell phones in general is the expectations that it sets for people. Because before there were cell phones, if someone missed a call or if they're just getting in touch with them or whatever, I mean, sometimes it was important to get in touch with people, but other times it was not, and it wasn't like this huge end of the world thing. And now, like if work calls you and it's on your cell phone and you miss the call or you just don't answer or you don't want to, like you're not in a good position. Whereas before, like, your time was a little bit more your time and you weren't just like kind of going back to what I started talking about at the beginning with cell phones, where it's just like to just make us so distractible and people can control us so easily with them. As soon as there's an alert, it buzzes or it beeps or whatever, and you immediately look at it like a trained animal of some sort. You've been trained. DC Talk had a song, well, before they got really big and they played a lot of music but was talking about things of this world passing away. And it's not bad necessarily to have things or to want things, but the problem is when those things have you. If there's one thing in this world that has us as a society, it's our cell phone. Our cell phone owns us. There was a graphic where we had Pikachu riding on the neck of somebody playing Pokemon Go, which isn't a bad thing. Pokemon Go gets people out of their house and, they get some walking in. So people that were otherwise docile gamers, which is another whole topic, are actually getting out of their house and walking around, which is good for them. Um, but it kind of it goes to show you that a lot of things on the phone are definitely controlling you. So I don't know. Maybe I should start setting times of the week where it is that like I'm just simply unreachable because I'm shutting my phone off. Or maybe I should just uninstall a lot of things that are on there that are, because sometimes you'll get like a notification for something on the phone and it's like some stupid game that you installed one time and you just haven't gotten around to uninstalling yet, and it's begging you to come and play it because they need you to play it, so they have players. And I get it, they need to have a player base, and they're trying to make money, and they don't make money if you don't play the game. So you actually have to play the game to want to spend money on the game. So I understand what it's doing, but like at some point, I'm just not touching this game, and it's not getting played ever again. And so I need to uninstall it, but I keep not doing it, and then I keep getting notifications to play the game. So I guess that's on me more than anything, but I think that's definitely something those reminders can work in reverse, where it is that they're reminding you to play the game. Really, what it's doing is reminding me to uninstall the game. That's really what it's reminding me to do. Because you really have only so much room in your heart for things. Like when I was playing World of Warcraft years ago, and I ran a guild, it was it was the only game I could play. I missed out on a lot of other games that came out during that time period, and I miss out on a lot of games now because I'm just don't have the time. But I'm not going to make the time for them. But yeah, I only had room in my heart for World of Warcraft, and that was it. And so on your phone, it's the same thing. How many games can you play on the phone? You know, where it is that they ask you to do check-ins and different things, and really actually enjoy those games. You know, how many games can you? How big is your heart to play those games? And so you've got all these different companies that are jockeying for position, trying to get your attention to play their games, and rightfully so. But they can only have so much. They can only have so much of the market because people's hearts are only so big. It's the same for a lot of things, I think. You only have so much time. You know, if you're dating, your heart's only so big. You can only, like, let's say that you're not really in the place to commit to specific people. Well, you're still going to have to make choices about who you're going to spend time on and who you're not, you know, until you get to a commitment level. Your heart's only so big. Wow. Well, we got it done on all of the wood pieces. We left these ones because we didn't want to work on those. In fact, all I really need to do with those is hit the grass and then do their other portions. But I feel really good about this. I'm liking the way the color scheme kind of came out on these. You know, if you want to see, that's a pretty good example of what we did tonight. It kind of came out pretty well. The orange stones, I really like that. We did that specifically to kind of parody a lot of the old 80s cartoons, like your G.I. Joe had a lot of that, and especially the original Transformers had a lot of orange mountain ranges. And so that's what I wanted to do here to make it brighter when I'm playing a chibi miniature game with this. So I'm pretty happy with the way it came out overall. Have to do a little bit of cleanup, and I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down now. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling on and painting miniatures. I'm going to try to pipe this out to YouTube, and yeah, so until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off saying God bless your families. Try not to rage too much out there.